Take a Take a few deep breaths to relax the body. It's funny, you don't actually have to do anything other than just breathing and bringing your attention to a part of the body that you're holding tense, and it will soften. I find that amazing. And check in with your mind. What's it thinking about? Now bring to mind the reason you decided to show up today. And based on that reason, generate a positive intention to use this time well. So if you're here because you're curious, and setting the intention to listen with open mind, with curiosity, keeping that intention there. And open-mindedness allows us to hear new things. And can join this with the wish that it benefit your own mind, but that it also ripples out to benefit those around you. So now let's recite the four immeasurables. And we'll put it up on the screen. And if you prefer out of a book, it's on page 34. Or I can put it up on the screen. It's easy for me too. There she goes. So we start with the four immeasurables. Okay. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. So these two of the four immeasurables, the first one is the definition of love in Buddhism. The second one is the definition of compassion. Okay. And you scroll down just a touch. There we go. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. This is the immeasurable mind of, having joy in the joy of others and the wish that that joy in others never stops. Someone's highlighting. That's okay. Thanks, Donna. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So this is the beginning of every practice, is equanimity, the mind in equanimity that really sees all sentient beings. Sentient beings just means a living being with a mind. that we're all the same in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. And we're all the same in that almost everything we do is being motivated by this desire to be happy and not be suffering, you know. It's myriads of ways to do that. And most of us don't know what we're doing. So we end up suffering a lot. So, and then we're going to recite the refuge and bodhicitta prayer, those who are comfortable doing so, on page 98. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Thank you. All right. So when you looked at your mind, how was it? That's yes. And it's sort of always here. If no matter what we do, this is the one certainty we have, is our mind is aware. Often we're not paying attention to the awareness. We're paying attention to the conversation we're having in our mind instead. And sometimes those conversations in our minds aren't particularly useful. They're leading us down a negative path. They're, just going to end up in a suffering state of mind. So other times they're just frivolous, they're just thinking about junk. Most of us kind of probably have a theme in our heads. Some people worry a lot. There's something they're anxious about all the time. Some people think about work all the time. Some people think about, judging others all the time. Especially anytime you're in a room with others, it's like, oh, let's see what flaws can I find. So, and that's not a good habit of mine. Can you switch that view to gallery? Thank you. So what kinds of conversations do we want to encourage our mind to have? Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Conversations of encouragement.
Conversations of encouragement. Encouragement to do what? I'm sorry.
To love.
To love. That's a good thing to, and to, so having this in Buddhism, that would mean that, having this mind that wishes others to be happy, including ourselves too. It's not like we try to ignore ourselves. We want to be happy too. But the path to helping ourselves be happy is actually about focusing on the happiness of others. It's a lot easier to be happy if we're not thinking about ourselves. That doesn't mean we want to be unaware of ourselves. That's not the same thing. We need to know what's going on in our minds, in our bodies, in our actions. But if the whole focus in those thoughts are about what's in it for me, is this going to benefit me? Is this going to, blah, 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 blah. Is that person thinking bad thoughts about me? All those kinds of things. That focus tends to be a good condition for negative thoughts to arise. Partly because we interpret negative, whatever, things we're aware of, negative objects, as dangerous. And since we're very, very vulnerable, you know, just like other animals, we worry that we're in danger. And our first instinct is to notice danger and try to protect ourselves. You know, as we get older, from, you know, when we're not babies anymore, you know, we learn that there are lots of situations we're not in danger. And if we're lucky, we live in a place that's relatively safe. We have food, we have clothes, you know, we have people around us that take care of us. You know, so we don't have lots of, but still we look. You know, this is why we so often are thinking about what others are thinking about, because we think they're thinking something bad about us. And that might harm us in some way. People think that way about their coworkers. They worry their coworkers are, you know, are going to get that promotion and we're not. Or they want something from us that we can't, you know, that, you know, we can be very suspicious in our thoughts. We want to notice that. You know, if we seem to be always worried, you know, because worry is, what's my favorite thing about worry? Or my least favorite thing about worry? What does worry do?
Causes anxiety.
Okay, what does anxiety do? That's about it, isn't it? It doesn't do anything. It doesn't help. It makes us feel bad. It becomes a habit. So then, you know, we don't just worry about this moment. We're worried in the next moment. We're worried about that. And as soon as we have something new to worry about, we go for it.
That's grasping.
Yeah, that's grasping. Like, oh, I'm suffering. Let's have more. We do this, you know. And it's not like on purpose. It's not like we logically are thinking, oh, I want to suffer. And I know that makes me suffer. So I'm going to do more of that. It's not how it works. We think by worrying, somehow that bad thing isn't going to happen. You know, we think it's magic. If I, you know, the old, you know, I'll bring my umbrella and it won't rain trick. Y'all might not know that. When I was young, that was the trick. Just bring your umbrella. It won't rain. Worrying is not problem solving. Problem solving can have results. Worrying is just this sense that something bad's going to happen and I don't know what to do about it. And we don't like uncertainty at all. You know, especially we think it's bad. So we want to notice our habits of mind. Like, what state of mind are we in most of the time? Are we kind of just, I mean, if you're not an anxious person, you might think, what is she on about? You know, so there may be some other theme in your mind, you know, like your to-do list. That all you do is think about what you have to do next. So that you finish something and you don't even enjoy having accomplished it. You just go to the next thing on the list. You know, and you kind of plod through your life, just getting things done on your list. Yeah.
Why does worrying attract us so much?
Because we're scared.
Oh.
Danger. Being hurt, loss. Lama Zopa Rinpoche would say, and the Buddha, and the Buddha, by the way, that we have basically 8 worldly concerns or 8 worldly dramas. You know, we want, you know, bliss. You know, we want to feel good. Guess what we don't want?
Feel bad.
Bad. We don't want pain. You know, we don't want loss. What do we want? We want gain. No, we don't want criticism. What do we want? Praise. Yeah, reward. And we want, yes, we want, what's the other one? Fame. Yeah, we want big success. We don't want a bad reputation. So we'll do a lot to guard our reputation. We'll do a lot to guard ourselves from loss. We'll do a lot to guard ourselves from pain. We'll do a lot to guard ourselves from criticism. How many people have a tendency to get defensive when someone criticizes? We have a whole well of responses to criticism. And the logic there is that it's not true. No, I did it right. It's not true. You're making them, blah, 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 blah. And all of these are because we don't like these states. We think they really endanger us. And on some very, very, if you go to the extremes, they do endanger this body. If you have total loss, you're in Maui, the whole place burns down. So now you have no place to live, you have no clothes, you have no food, you have no livelihood, that's a big deal. And we're afraid of that happening. You get in a car and, you're surrounded by crazy drivers. You could lose your life. We're afraid of that. That's like the ultimate loss. And we think that when someone praises us, that reflects on who we are. Does it? I'm not bad-mouthing praise. We all like it. What can happen when we grasp after praise?
We can become a pleaser and an appeaser. We can start putting ourselves away just to make sure that person's happy. Putting ourselves away. What does that mean? Not being present in who we are, and so we'll change what we're about to say to make sure they're happy. So we miss some of our own internal experience. We don't follow our inner wisdom or our inner, skillful means, whatever. We're following others. We want for their opinion. We want to chase after their opinion. So what happens when we're criticized instead of praised?
We get defensive.
We can get defensive. Why? What's the thing we dread there?
It's the opposite of praise. So it's kind of like getting what you need, which is the praise.
But also, what are you in danger of?
It might be true.
What? Yeah, that might. Yeah. Oh gosh, how terrible. I'm flawed. This is not news. To most, it's not news. But yep.
Disappointment.
Yep, we get disappointed.
You're in danger of losing yourself, the idea of self.
Well, that's part of it. We're always grasping on the sense of self. So we like to hear good things about ourselves and we don't like to hear bad things. But what are we afraid of if someone criticizes us? What does a bad reputation signify to us? We're alone. People don't like us. We'll be abandoned. Yeah.
Oh, exclusion.
Exclusion. Absolutely. We won't belong.
Get fired.
You get fired. Well, that's always a great feeling.
Like losing it.
Yeah, this is the thing. It's so these aren't like outrageous concerns or something. It's not like, it's idiotic that we're worried about this. The trouble is what we're basing our worries on doesn't have any meaning. If someone says something bad about you, what's a good thing to check? Is it true? That's kind of wise to kind of like, am I like that? And if I am like that, do I think that's a problem? So we use our own inner knowledge to kind of decide whether or not there might be some truth to that. And if it's true, what can you do?
Yeah. Put action
Towards changing it. You can even ask the person who brought it up. What do you think I could do to help with that? Yeah.
It's like what you said earlier, how we should like care for other people, like love for other
Mhm.
people. But if somebody doesn't love, well, only love them, so what they say should really affect them, because it can be a reflection of themselves as well.
Did anyone on that side of the room hear?
No.
Okay. We need you to speak up. There are a lot of old people in this room.
Saying that when you were saying earlier, when people that we should have love for other people, not just for ourselves, that when people criticize you, and whether it means something or not, that could also be like when a reflection of themselves. Yeah, a reflection of their own insecurities.
Okay, yeah. So this is something to bring up. Say you don't think it's true. Then what is it? What do you do with that information?
Can we ignore that?
Well, you can't ignore it. And of course, this is just, depends on the circumstances. And it's like, oh, well, that's what they think. Do you need to defend yourself?
No.
Why not?
Because it's not true.
Because it's not true.
Even if it's true, then still you want to defend, because if it's true, then we want to.
There's nothing to defend. Yeah, right. So, so what it does tell us a lot about is the other person. But is it like, we often go to just like judging the other person based on this one comment, right? Well, what a jerk they are.
But what if we solicit that opinion?
Well, that's different. That's a whole different scenario. We're not going there. Yep.
I feel like for me personally, the most difficult challenge is getting beyond that initial sting.
Right.
That sting that hurts so badly, and you feel compelled to say something in return.
Okay.
When
And
you-
this is a great point.
Yeah.
So that initial sting, that first response, is something we can train ourselves about. I'm sorry, I'm watching the sign language and trying to, because I'm easily distracted. Okay, so
If we can go there, we can have empathy for that person.
there are
Knowing that
lots of
they're
ways.
suffering.
Hi, Luciana. I'm still distracted. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait a moment just because, yes, Mary, there are lots of ways we can respond. And I've completely lost my train of thought. Can you tell? Okay, I had a thought.
The sting.
The sting. Yeah. So that initial feeling of a sting, we want to look at that because we often are reacting to that kind of thing. Like I get this feeling, right? It's sort of like, I don't know, is that where what part of the body is that? Solar plexus or whatever. I get this kind of there, and then if I hold on to that, it sinks further. It's like, ugh, and I feel kind of sick. We want to notice that we react in these ways so that we can choose to pause then, because that means we're under the influence of some negative experience and it may not be valid, because what that's saying, that sting or that feeling like, get you in the gut, is saying is, oh my God, what if I'm a bad person? Or what if I've made a mistake? And we're making it a big deal. We feel pain because we think it's a big deal that someone has criticized us. And it really isn't a big deal. But we need to work on developing that confidence that it's not a big deal. We're not perfect. We make mistakes all the time. So do all of our friends. You know, it's not a big deal. So developing that sense of, oh, I'm good enough can help us not have that feeling of a sting when someone says something. So then we can hear what's being said and choose, you know, to follow up on it. You know, like, oh, that might be true, and I need to follow up on it. We can feel confident that we'll still have friends, even though we're flawed. Because after all, if we've had friends at all through our lives, you've had friends while you were flawed. Because we've been flawed. We made mistakes all our lives. And those flaws aren't something inherent to us. It's not our nature to be flawed. It just means that in every moment, you know, we have an action of body, speech, or mind. And sometimes those actions are skillful, sometimes they're not. They're all based on wanting to be happy, however. They're all seeking some kind of, you know, method to be happy in the long, you know, in the long view. And sometimes our methods are faulty.
Mhm.
They're based on a mistaken understanding about how things exist. Because we think there is this self that is fixed, independent, you know, and yes, that might be like flawed, you know, and it's permanent. And we won't be able to do anything about it. And people won't love us, and people will, you know, blah, 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 blah. But that kind of person doesn't exist for anybody. It just simply doesn't exist. But we act from a place as if that's true. The same way we form opinions about others based on very little information, you know, usually revolving around us. They look at us a certain way. They say something a certain way. They're inconsiderate in that, you know, with the way they drive, they, you know, whatever.
Would it be helpful if we could pretty much kill them with kindness? Thank you for that. I really didn't understand that. And
It depends. It always depends. But if we have a certain confidence that it's okay if I make a mistake, that's not the end all be all. It's okay if someone doesn't like me. Shocker.
I'm hearing
Jimmy.
that. I feel like, you know, everything comes from this place of self-esteem.
Everything comes from this place of self-esteem.
If you are comfortable that your happiness is going to be triggered within yourself, I think it's easy to a lot of that. Not saying I do it.
Funny that.
It's me thinking.
Yeah, this is, you know, we need a healthy sense of self. Well, instead, what we tend to do is create our sense of self based on all sorts of incorrect notions, like other people's opinions on, yeah.
I have this thing that I've been working within myself. I have an issue with extending myself to others and attaching myself to their outcomes of happiness. So for instance, if my child is going through something and I see what I believe to be a better choice, accepting whatever choices that they have made, and if the outcome doesn't come, it doesn't affect me directly. Like, so how do I disassociate? Or I see people that I love that are
Making
close to me,
okay.
and they're going through like a really hard time. I take it very personally, and I'm trying to release that and allow them to continue on the journey the way that they see fit, because what may not work for me may work for them. So how do I separate?
So this is that, you know, recognizing that everybody has their own karma. You know, everybody in this room has a stream of past events, both of body, speech, and mind, and those create the causes for events to arise and create, you know, everything, you know. So what's happening to us, to our families, to our children, are all individual streams of karma. And then the collective karma being part of a family, being part of a relationship, being part of, you know, this planet kind of thing. So it's very complex. What we need to remember is sometimes when we take things personally that, like, say, our children decide to do, or they're in pain, or they're our partner's in pain, if we take it on as if it's happening to us, that, first of all, that's a distortion, isn't it? Because it's not happening to you. You know, so you want to look, is it that, you know, is it a fear of, we want to be gentle with ourselves, you know, but we also, like you said, we need to recognize that it's not helping. It doesn't help them. It doesn't help ourselves to be so caught up in someone else's life like that, you know. And we need to work on recognizing that just like you, that you've had experiences in your life where who knew how it was going to come out? You know, some of the worst things that have ever happened to us turn out to be the condition for us to learn something really wonderful, you know, or provide an opportunity for us to change the direction in our life and go do something different completely, you know, whatever. That hard conditions aren't necessarily bad. You know, that pain, emotional pain, isn't necessarily like, you know, this is the problem. One of the mistakes we make is we think, oh, I have to, you know, end this pain right now. I can't be happy unless this pain ends right now. And that's not true. You know, so we want to start being aware of those moments when the pain's not there. You know, so that we can really nurture the moments when the pain's not there. Because otherwise, all we do is worry about that child again. We just go back and you're just choosing to suffer again. I'm just going to focus on the suffering for my child, you know? What is that doing for the child? So we really want to recognize that sometimes the choices we make are not helping anybody. And so maybe you want to, you know, when that feeling gets hold of you, is to kind of sit quietly with yourself and notice when the moment passes. Because it does pass. It doesn't feel like it passes when we're totally drowning in it, you know, but it actually does. Our mind's impermanent, changes all the time, changes. And what we've done is we're not noticing all those moments. We're just noticing some of those moments. And it really is, you have to just, I mean, I don't know what conversation you're having in your mind or had in your mind before you develop this habit, you know, because it's really not your fault when others that you love suffer.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that this attachment to others' happiness or outcome came from a childhood trauma.
Right.
Of trying to, that wasn't my responsibility to save someone. That
We think we're
grown to feel like I'm responsible.
Yeah. And we think we have all the power, and it's a lie. So we have to remind ourselves of that there's no way. And that's true for all of us. You know, we're going to make mistakes. So we will sometimes be the source, and we'll be the condition for someone else's unhappiness. But, you know, we don't have all this power. Everybody's got their own karmic stream ripening. You know, we don't want to discourage ourselves from wishing they were free of suffering. But just the end of that moment of suffering is not a tool to end the next moment of suffering. You know, being able to handle what's happening is a way that we'll be able to handle what's happening in the future, you know? So it's like if we cave every time that there's suffering, we're not building skills to support us in times of suffering. So it's really important to work on that. You know, to not let yourself like get caught up in a spiral of worry, get caught up in a spiral of sadness, you know. And it's, you know, and so the first thing you might want to get out of the spiral of is your own sadness that you know, because one of the things we're sad about is that we don't have the power, you know, because wouldn't we love to be able to take the suffering away from all the people we love? You know, so we're kind of sad about that, you know, and that's a good quality, that we want to be sad about the fact that we can't fix it, you know, because that's that underpinning of love. You know, I wish they could be happy. I wish they were free of suffering. But that's not actually the way for them to be free of it, or for you to be free of it. Yep.
So when you keep that connection alive towards this other person's suffering, I think that you actually make it bigger, but they actually causing more suffering.
Well, you could. Yeah. It just
We're not
depends.
anticipating it, we're just
Yeah.
building proper.
Yeah.
We-
There are lots of different things that are not skillful about it, you know, but I don't know what, you know, they may be blissfully unaware of your, so, but maybe not. So yes, and also, you know, one thing that we can do is take control of our own behavior, our own words, and eventually our own thoughts. And that's great modeling for everybody, you know, is being able to not be overwhelmed by what's happening. This is difficult because we think we're in danger all the time, because we're so clinging to this moment, this, you know, like it's easy to say, oh, of course I cling to this body, I don't want to be killed, but we go way beyond that to where we're clinging in every moment to the idea of, I don't get what I want right now, or if I don't feel safe right now, you know, then I'm unhappy, that I'm in danger, that I'm not, you know, and we do it in every moment. This is that grasping after, oh, you know, because we grasp after, oh, I want my, you know, we eat something that we like. So now my taste buds are happy. You know, we turn on something on the TV or the radio, or we don't do that anymore, do we? Whatever it is we do. Alexa, play something pretty, you know? So I know, don't say it in here. I won't say Siri. So, you know, so that we hear something, and we're constantly trying to control our surroundings to have this sense that everything is okay and we're getting what we want, because happiness equals getting what we want. And it's not true. Did you see that article about the person who spent like millions of dollars in order to have the perfect sound system in his house?
No, sounds.
I mean, fine. I mean, it's just money. But I mean, it's just, you know, this is what we do. We just, oh, if I get this just right, everything's going to be okay. You know, and we do this with our loved ones. We think, oh, you know, especially, you know, children create, you know, because there's in many ways, we are responsible for children, you know, when they're little. You know, so that can make it that, you know, they say that, you know, what is it? That parents get a lot of negative karma from their attachment to their children. Yeah. And I'm grateful to my parents because I'm still here, you know, that they took that on, you know, because I really thought they'd take me in the backyard and shoot me at some point. So, but they didn't. You know, so that was nice of them. So, anyway. So coming to this place of acceptance of where we are, what our capacity is, what we know how to do now, you know, helps us not be batted around by other people's comments or by other people's actions. Because we come, we always can go within and ground ourselves there. But it requires some work to actually be comfortable there, to really feel like, it doesn't mean you think, oh, I don't have any problems, blah, 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 blah. It's just that you don't equate yourself with any of that. Because we're none of that. We're just a series of moments. So letting go of this, it's kind of funny. It's like this, a healthy sense of self is one that's not so worried about it, that isn't grasping at that self, that, recognizes that the self is just, first of all, it's just a name we give to this body and mind. And y'all all have the same name. Not y'all, we all have the same name. I, self, and it's very fluid. Changes moment to 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 moment. So how can we take care of the next moment? By taking care of this moment. And sometimes that takes a lot of quiet with oneself. Give yourself a lot of pause to be able to interrupt whatever conversation you've got in your head going that's not true. So that we can actually experience what's happening. I'd give you a hug if I could get off this seat easily, come back and sit down easily, but I can't do that. But I'm giving you a hug anyway. Our suffering's hard. And that's why we want to be free of it. It's not that we're stupid. We really do want to be free of it. And and when we have these pains, the compassion part is really seeing that everybody is suffering this way. We all have our moments of real, devastating suffering. And we all have our moments of little bitty suffering, that sting that we feel, and wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody was free of that? And the Buddha just said there's a method, and the method is training your mind. Letting go of this wrong perception of things existing in some sort of independent, isolated way, that we are one thing from birth to death. Instead of just recognizing just a whole bunch of moments. The things that gripped us, 6 years ago, we don't even think about anymore. It's like it was just a dream. We don't, in fact, a lot of it, we don't even remember. So we don't need to hold on to anything. So we have a moment where, someone criticizes us. We do not have to pack a suitcase with all of those criticisms and carry it around with us forever. It's always good to look at what's said to us and see, oh, is there any truth to that? Do we do that with praise? Or do we just take it? I'm going to assume this is true. But it's good to check up. Is there truth to it? And if there's truth to it and you think it's an important thing, then you can feel good about it. Ah, yes, I was generous today. Oh, yes, I was patient with that. Oh, yes, I did bring wisdom to that situation. And then we can rejoice about that. And then we move on. We don't have to pack a suitcase with it. Because until we're enlightened, it's not like we're going to take that piece of wisdom and repeat it necessarily in the very next moment. We're fluid. But what we can do is start developing habits of thinking that are conditions for our good qualities instead of our negative qualities. you know. So if we're always worried, we're always impatient. If we're, I don't know, what are some other, what are y'all's habits? Y'all know mine now. I'm worried and impatient. I mean, they kind of go together, don't they?
Hey, I have a habit of harsh words
Harsh words,
to yourself.
both probably.
Just all around, and it never makes me feel good though.
No. Why do you think that is? And it doesn't feel good?
Because it is because, well, because I know it's one of the on, you know, 10 non-virtues, and it's a karma thing, and I'm just trying to get a handle on it.
Yeah, because who wants those bad seeds to ripen? Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And isn't there something startling? There's a startled energy about when we curse or, you know, yell at somebody, or, you know, it takes a certain energy of attack. That doesn't feel good. Yeah.
When I first attack though, there is this brief moment of feeling. Like
Yeah.
there's this until I dissect it, sit down, pull back. Because it's so easy in our learning.
And why do we
say it doesn't feel good?
Yeah,
but it
we can
does.
blame others, but so why do we feel good in that moment? Because I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah, I'm feeling good because I'm getting to be right. I'm protecting the eye. I'm doing, like, there's all these reasons.
Yeah.
As I've done.
Because I've slapped you back.
Right. There's a defensiveness, the mobilization to protect myself.
And does it lead to happiness?
No, the long term isn't.
See, it doesn't lead to happiness. So this is one of those myths. That's just one of the ignorances that we have, that somehow defending me is going to bring happiness. It's not true, folks.
I also think that in some people, it's like a release. You know, it's a way that they channel.
They take control. Because we take control because we think that protects us. None of this is true. All the things we do to defend ourselves against, you know, criticism or rude people or rude action, you know, all that kind of stuff doesn't prevent us from feeling slapped.
Sometimes, like when you hurt yourself, like yesterday, I closed my door on my nose.
Oh yeah, that feels good.
And I said the F word.
Yeah.
And then I went into my brother's house and I said, I closed the effing door on my nose. But it was because I was angry at myself. I thought I was, you know, really stupid for doing.
Yeah, no, and it is. It's kind of like, and you also want to take control.
Yes.
You know, and isn't it funny that then we go tell someone?
When they both looked at me and after my brother, like, you know, you're really stupid or something. How could you do
What
that?
is that about? I recently fell off of a recliner, and like possibly the stupidest way one could do that. And I told everybody in the physical therapy office, you know, everybody. And I really, you know, it's like, I guess I want people to know, I know that was stupid. Don't think I don't know that, you know, but this sense that somehow, first of all, sharing our stuff like that with others, what is that about?
Misery loves company.
For me, it's humor. So
Self-rest.
what does it say about the way you think about yourself?
It's like you want sympathy, you want, you know,
So what does that say about yourself?
That you know you're vulnerable.
we need something. Like we're seeking.
Who's the center of the universe in that moment? Me. Like, who cares? Do you think anybody in the physical therapy office cared? You know, I mean, they cared just make sure, okay, are you hurt this way? You know, that's it, though. We think we're so important and we are the center of everybody's universe. This is part of that power thing. I'm in the system. I should be able to fix everybody. And yeah, it's a dysfunctional way that we're raised often. It's just this kind of thing. If you did everything right, I'd be fine. I'd be perfect. And it's up to you to make everything right. My father used to come home from work and he'd just go, I just want to come home to happy people. And I think, yeah, and what you doing for that? Sorry, I'm not going to cooperate. So, it's just, so it's all these things end up sabotaging what we most want, which is not to feel separate, to feel like we belong, to feel safe, to, we put all these defenses up and we still get hurt. Everything still goes wrong. Everything, all that kind of stuff. Whereas if we didn't put all these defenses up, what would we have as a resource?
Compassion. Because if we have all of our defenses down, we're going to experience the world, whatever it is, and then compassion can keep us there. Or we can start
Compassion
getting
would
afraid.
is certainly could be there. What do you have when you're open like that?
Peace.
You have friends.
Mm.
You have companions on the path. You have people to turn to for help because you don't push people away. You don't always have to look right. You don't always have to have done the right thing. You have support. We keep ourselves in these little separate little like pods, conveniently called bodies. But, instead of really understanding we're all in it together, that everybody in this room benefits from the lack of harm done by everybody in this room.
Yes,
Yes.
we benefit from the lack of harm done by everybody.
Yeah. But if we defend ourselves from that, so we don't talk to anybody, we leave, we come, we just kind of, we don't participate perhaps, I'm not saying people who don't participate are feeling this way. Don't jump to that conclusion. Just saying that, the more that we're open to the possibility of belonging, of friends, and it's not like you have to belong to this community or blah, blah, blah. It's just the human race. We just, we share everything. We all know how to suffer the same way. We all know how to seek happiness. We all know the joy of life sometimes, We know there's absolutely pretty much no emotion that we don't know about each other because we have them. And we may use different words, but suffering, I know suffering. We know what that feels like. We know what kindness feels like. We know what patience feels like. So we have a really good starting point for relationships. We don't have to guess that people suffer. We don't have to guess that people want happiness. We know this. This is logical even. So the state of, yeah.
You struggle with the application of what you're saying, so let me try to explain. So, um, I, I, I believe that, yes, I know what suffering is, but sometimes I suffer with some things and somebody else suffer with other things.
Mhm.
So that ignorance from my part keeps me wondering.
Well, it keeps you, it's assuming that just because different conditions are what for different people are what cause suffering or blah, 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 that somehow that makes it different.
Sometimes I can say something to somebody that would not hurt me,
Right.
it hurts that person
But it does hurt that person. And as soon as you know that,
to adjust.
we can adjust. We don't have to go, oh, what an evil person I am that I didn't know that. And we also don't have to go, why does that hurt you?
Yeah.
That's one of the most infuriating statements I can imagine. Oh, it's like,
What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
it's just, like that's pointless. What does that mean? You shouldn't be afraid. When I moved to Australia, I was terrified of everything pretty much, but mostly the snakes. So everybody told me strategy so I would not be afraid of the snakes. I'm going, that none of that's working. I'm happy for strategies that help me avoid snakes. I'm happy for strategies that, I would just run from building to building, Of course, there's snakes in the building and like totally pointless. But anyway, the point is when people, oh, why are you afraid of that? That snake won't hurt you. I'm going, I'm sorry. I'm not particular, These are a bunch of Buddhist nuns, It's karma, folks. I'm terrified because of karma, and in that moment of fear, what do we have going for us?
Well, snakes can be dangerous.
Danger takes us.
Yeah. Not a lot is basically it. When you're under the grip of fear, nothing else is functioning very well. Your wisdom's not functioning. Your feet are functioning, You kind of go the other direction, things like that. We need to remember that when someone's in a moment of, including yourselves, when you're in a moment of suffering, but no matter what type it is, things like wisdom might not be available to you and to your friend and to the person giving you your change at the cash register. When people are afraid or angry or, they don't have all their faculties there. So when we have them, we need to remember, oh, I'm not to be trusted in this moment. I need to pause, and try not to be reactive because the state of mind I'm having right now is not reliable. I can't rely on it to give me good advice. So I need to pause and not just go into habitual response. We need to recognize that in others as well. Well, it's pausing is such a good habit. But recognizing that our states of mind, so if we have a theme going in our minds, we have a couple of different ways that our minds tend to be thinking, and it's not helpful. If it's negative about others, if it's negative about ourselves, if it's constantly worried that you're not good enough or that, things won't work out or da, da, da. None of those things, are good conditions. They don't set up a scenario that makes a good condition for positive actions of body, speech, and mind. So we want to notice if that's our habit and try to interrupt it. Just, noticing going, I'm not going to think that way. I'm not going to buy into that today. I used to just, I've said all these things, oh, thank you for sharing, but I'm not listening to you today. I mean, you can have those kind of conversations in your mind, and you may have to have them a lot. It's a strong habit. You may have to say it a lot, you know, and then that gets kind of boring. And so you might move on from that habit. I actually had a whole topic I wanted, and maybe this is the segue to it. Okay, so not it.
So controlling our response is the key to what positive.
Well, if we choose to do something positive, you know, so that's the thing, is when you learn to pause and look, you have a lot more choices, because we are a wealth of different possibilities, you know. We're not just always going to have to be, angry. We can look at our own lives and see that there are moments that certain conditions that in usual circumstances you get angry. That's your habit, but that, new lover you have that's just so perfect, all of a sudden, they never make you angry, So it shows that you're not as fixed as you think you are, it depends.
Question here, so controlling our responses is the key. What was that?
Choosing our response.
So-
You'll have to look in the chat.
That will be me
Okay.
transcribing. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
That will be me transcribing what's been said in the Gompa.
Yep.
So that's
So
not a
Nam is
question.
helping those at home by translating what's said in the Gompa. I can't believe you can hear what's said in the Gompa.
Controlling our responses
Trying.
is the key.
So recognizing that if we give ourselves space, mental space, to choose how we respond, we have lots of ways we can respond. It all depends, though, on what we're feeding our mind. If we keep feeding our mind that, anger gets me what I want, people cooperate when I get angry, I have power when I'm angry, da 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 da. That's what the message you're feeding yourself, then you're going to get angry. If you recognize, if you kind of go, yeah, but anger always has a back splash, with hurt feelings. People get upset. I'm laughing because it's just so idiotic, but I was an angry person for a long time, and it was totally idiotic. So, we have to recognize that we want to undo the logic that made the habit in the first place. Sometimes it's just ignorance, just like, I thought that would be a good idea, and it's not, Other times is you've built up this whole schema of, this will work, and so this is just the habit you do. Like worrying. I mean, a lot of us just really think worrying helps, and so to question that, yes, Lee.
Yeah, so I'm going back and kind of watching my mind evolve as you're talking or opening up. So when you first were talking about how when we get negative feedback or we get feedback or that we can have a sensation first. So let's address the sensation, let's relax so that we can create space. What I'm starting to realize, there's plenty of times I thought I had space and said they were wrong. But then when you hear it 4 times, the 4th person gets the part of you that goes, oh yeah, the first one got this, not me, that's you, right? What I'm loving about what you're saying now is as I create space for me, I can create space for them. So when I get criticized, I can go, how did you come to that conclusion, and actually open up to their, as long as they're not being abusive and all those type of things.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is the how we can help our communication. So first thing, that's a really good point, by the way, is somebody can say something and you can ask them, what do you mean by that? Or how did you, what caused you to think that about me or whatever. You can clarify. Can you say more about that? It's another phrase I really don't like because, therapy speak, but it's, but we really, but of course it really helps if what you're not doing in your mind is formulating your fight back.
Right.
That you really want them, you're going to listen to what they say. You're not just giving yourself more time to get even.
What if they don't shut up?
Yeah, what a
That
problem.
means you've done a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we can't control them, can we?
No, yeah.
I mean, there are people who criticize
We're not going to worry about them.
incessantly, but when you ask them about that, they'll say, "Oh, I do that because I care. I do that because I
Yeah, so
want you to be better, or I want you to,
yeah, so what's so?
uh-huh. So what?
So what? We can't control other people.
They're self-grasping.
Yeah. And we might even go, oh, I used to think that way. Don't ever say that. Yeah, you just want to, yes, you want to go, I know how that feels. In your mind, and have it generate compassion, because I'm sure there's an element of what they're saying is that is true. It is because they care, but they think they're always right because they think that's the way to be happy. They have to be right to be happy, and they want everybody else to do as they say, because then everybody will be happy. And none of that's true. It's based on ignorance, But it's not that they're not trying to be a good human being,
So what I do to make that criticism slightly easy, in a proactive manner, I tell them, hey, can you tell me about my weakness and strength? So when
They pair them up. That helps a lot.
so it makes it easy for me to take it in.
Yes, it's true. And so this is one of those relationship things. Thich Nhat Hanh, in his monasteries, he had a rule that for every, like first of all, whenever someone said something that stung, or, just kind of, you had to let the other person know within 24 hours, but you couldn't talk to them about it until you weren't angry. So you had to wait, And then when you had that talk, you have to, whatever concern you have, that's what we call them, joys and concerns. For every concern you shared, you had to come up with 2 joys about the person. I cut out a lot of conversations. Because it was a skill you had to learn.
Yeah.
You had to start really paying attention, because we just focus on the negative. That's your habit. You just focus on the negative. But most of the time, so after the 24 hours or whatever, you finally then, you could often, what happened is you go to the person and say, I'm sorry, it really had nothing to do with you. It was just, whatever, you realized, oh, it's because I was still angry about blah, 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 whatever. So, so there really wasn't anything to discuss. Other times, so there was something, so it might be something like that, it would help me when you share with me things that I'm not doing correctly, if you would share with me something that I am doing correctly, it just depends on the people. So the more we can train our mind to think of the possibility of people being on your side, not against you, the more, like His Holiness says, he sees everyone as a friend. The more that we come from a place of trust instead of distrust, more possibilities can open. Doesn't mean everybody and every action's trustworthy. It just means you don't start with the assumption, because that filter will draw you to wrong conclusions. You will mishear things. Have you ever been in a bad mood and you go someplace and then, you just can't believe how rude people are? It has nothing to do with you, with your bad mood or your perception of how people are talking or their facial expressions. It's just, this happens. So the way we're thinking matters.
To a large extent, your mind is not observing the world around you, but it's creating. So I think that
To a certain extent, your mind is actually aware of everything that's happening. Your thoughts are interpreting them. This is why being able to just observe, getting in the habit of just observing what's going on in your own mind, noticing how fast it changes, noticing how things come up out of the blue, but noticing and just trying to settle the thoughts down and just be aware. Because you're right, our thoughts are filters. We start to, so we want to kind of take charge of how we're thinking, because that's going to affect how we speak, how we continue to think. It just builds on itself. So we have to really try hard not to feed habits that aren't helping us.
think good thoughts.
Yes, I have a t-shirt that says that. Think good thoughts.
And with me, when I observe any disturbing thoughts, the intensity of those thoughts immediately decreases.
If you do what?
Like when I observe my thoughts.
When you observe your thoughts, yep.
And a particularly disturbing thought, maybe anger, or maybe too extremely
Yep.
excited.
Yep.
The intensity of that thought decreases, goes down.
If you observe them.
Correct.
Yes, because it's sort of like you've taken one step back, and that's a skill we want. We want to be able to, kind of look at things.
Yeah, third person, yeah.
Yeah, like a third person.
Yeah.
If my best friend was thinking this, what would I say? So, but that stepping back gives us more choice.
Yeah.
And that disturbing or even positive state of mind, you get to choose whether you're going to follow it or not. So like say you have, a wonderfully patient state of mind arises, that you responding to something with patience. You pause and you kind of go, oh, I'm glad. Yeah, let's continue that way. So it doesn't always have to be the bad stuff. We're totally in tune to the bad stuff because we think we're in danger all the time. So, it isn't. So when we observe, don't skip the good stuff. Don't skip your kindness and your patience and your generosity and your, notice that as well, those kind thoughts. And because then you can kind of think, yeah, I want to think this feels good. It feels good to think this. I want to do that more often.
Double down on it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it's just, Lee.
So the farther back we go, that's what emptiness is. And then once we start interpreting, once we
I
start.
love your little, that's what emptiness is. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't definitely. I'm wondering if that's what emptiness is. I realize it's like different.
Well, I mean, if we could have a picture of it, perhaps, but when emptiness doesn't mean nothing.
Right. No, we see it, we're observing it, but we're not interpreting it. We're not labeling it.
We're not grasping it.
Grasping.
Yeah. But that's not emptiness. Emptiness is the absence of inherent existence. It's not a place. It's not a state of mind. It's a quality of all phenomena, including our mind, including each other. It just means, when we grasp at, oh, I'm just like that, the Buddha would say that's ignorance. You're grasping at this inherent nature of you, and there's no such thing. And so this is why it's important, when you get caught up in that mind just like that, or, it can be either pride or, it can be arrogance or the other way, to kind of, oh, really? How many moments can I say in this life have I been like that? It's just like we need to quit grasping on to any moment because there's a next one right away. You never can. As soon as you try to, you've moved on. I mean, that moment's no longer there. So we just want to encourage ourselves to keep having moments with positive thoughts in them, and that's just a habit we have to develop. And positive thoughts do not mean just thinking good thoughts. They can be curious thoughts. They can be, like, oh, I want to find that out thoughts.
When somebody calls me an airhead, I should take that as a compliment. Because that's emptiness.
Well, if it was that simple. Yes.
So is that why it's good to pause when you're angry?
Good to pause when you're angry to give you choice. Otherwise, the energy of that anger will just give you another moment of anger and another moment of anger. But if you pause, it gives you a chance of taking the power away from that thought, because then you can say, I don't want to get angry. I don't want to say anything. And sometimes all you can do is, I'm not going to say anything, and then you have to, that's Shantideva. Be a log of, of wood. You don't do anything. Yes, Peggy.
When I do the pause, which I would like to do it more often than I do, it gives me the opportunity to go back into my toolbox and bring something out that will be beneficial or not.
Yeah, that's the thing about it, is that then we have all these other resources if we pause. If we follow the habit energy, that's it. We're done, But if we pause, then we can go, oh, I'd like to respond with patience. I'd like to respond with understanding. I'd like to respond with, whatever you choose. I remembered where I was going with it. I'm sorry. I'm getting so stupid. So, okay, I've lost it again. One of the tools that we want to develop is what traditionally is translated as faith. Like faith that the teachings are correct or whatever. But that's not really what's meant by faith in Buddhism. And Alexander Berzin, he translates it as believing something to be true. Okay. So this is the part about, analyzing, you read something, you contemplate, you really look into it, you investigate, we need to develop what's called the faith of conviction, that we are convinced that positive states of mind will bring us happiness. Positive actions will result in, that will turn out better for us. That holding on to our unskillful states of mind, like anger and impatience and greed and, on and on, jealousy and lust, or lust for somebody who's like belongs to someone else, all of those, things that they don't actually lead to happiness. So we have to really look, like we look at, what kind of people do we respect? What kind of people do we admire? What kind of qualities do they have? What kind of people are we comfortable around? Not that we always make good choices. So we have to be able to look, oh, I like hanging out with my friends at the bar on Friday night, because I don't have to feel guilty about drinking because everybody's drinking. We want to look closely at those things. So it's not that we just look and, oh, obviously, blah, blah, blah. No, we look. What we want to look for is so that we can develop this sense. So when we take those pauses, we have confidence that being patient or kind or understanding is a better choice for ourselves. We don't even have to give up self-cherishing. We just see it as a better option for our own happiness. That takes really thinking. We need to be convinced. We have to find, we have to look and convince ourselves. You've moved, right? Were you here? Was that Anne that was here?
No.
I'm confused now. It's the same kind of thing of developing. We need to develop the faith of conviction that we have Buddha nature. That we have the capacity for good qualities, that we have evidence of it already in our lives. We don't have evidence of us being Buddhas, but we have evidence of the states of minds of Buddhas, like compassion. So this is the part of the investigative arm that we really need to do, is that because that's what it's going to take us in those tough moments where we really just want to get even, where we can, pause and go, that actually will not bring me what I really want, so I can choose more wisely. So it might be a long pause. Fortunately, though, the mind is very, very fast, as we all know. So as we get familiar with this and get familiar with the habit of pausing, we have time. We have time for that choice. We also need to be able to make the choice of, I'm not responding to this because I'm out of control. Because sometimes whatever the little sting is more like a, knock on the head, and we're really hurting. So we have to give ourselves more space to go off and think about it. And hopefully we have, we can develop that skill with relationships of saying, I have to go think about that. And give ourselves the time we need. So we need to look at our own experience, see that, is it possible to change the way I do things, the way I respond to things? Have I done it in the past? Has it, oh yeah, you can do that. You think all you have to do is think of yourself as a teenager, and you can, see how you've changed a lot, how you've learned during those years, how to, do things. You choose one thing and then go, yeah, and you choose something else, So we want to know, then you go to, you maybe got some skills for your work, that you learned, that we're capable of all these things, that you have moments of incredible kindness and compassion, in, some relationships, not so much, other relationships, totally. So those can be grown. Those, all of our good qualities can grow, just like our negative qualities can grow. But if we feed the good qualities, if we give them encouragement to exist, if we, trust in ourselves to be capable, those things can grow. And those become the habits. And we know people like that. We know people who always seem to bring a little spark of lightness to a room. They always seem to be welcoming to whomever, they're just, wow, So it's possible. Yeah.
So it's practicing.
Oh, yeah.
You practice and look at the results, the fruit of that practice.
Yeah. So it's both of those things. It's doing it, it's investigating it, it's thinking about it, all of those things. It's life, only with a particular focus. Like right now, our lives might be caught up in all sorts of other things to do. So we just want to add this to the mix, see it as something worthwhile putting time and energy into. Because the Buddha said, this is the way you'll be able to be happy in a stable way, where you're not just being tossed around by events, because we all also know people who seem to weather really difficult conditions pretty well. They're mentally, they don't become just an angry person or feel like the world has cheated them or whatever. They seem to be able to handle it. That is a training of mind. It has nothing to do with anything else. Now, maybe they were born with that habit from previous lives, or maybe they developed it in this life. But it's doable. It just doesn't feel like it when you're drowning in that moment. But that's why we have to practice or make this a part of our lives, just like brushing your teeth. This is just something we do for ourselves so that when conditions aren't so great, we have a lot more strong, stable resources for ourselves.
Like a continuous meditation?
Yeah. Because meditation isn't just concentration meditation. It's also analytical meditation. It's also bare awareness meditation. So it's all, it's all practice because it's all life. It's just about, training our minds. Luciana,
I know I've asked this question of you before, but I find it more difficult to apply these principles or do these practices in the presence of physical pain.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's the hardest because it's such a big distraction, So it really is that kind of important, practice of being able to keep reminding yourself when you're in pain. First of all, you try to get yourself in less pain. It's not like this says, oh, it's just mind over matter. No, we have physical pain, but we also can remind ourselves that I'm not my pain. Well, the pain is impermanent, just may not seem that way at the time. But it is, again, it's this being able to build your awareness and notice when the pain's not there, so that we're not always thinking that it is there. But it's also just recognizing there's the pain, and then there's the mind that's suffering from the pain. And we can choose not to feed that mind. And it is hard. But it's worth it, especially if it's pain you're not going to get free from until death. And the older we get, the more we discover that those things exist. But having the mind that's just able to separate the experience of the pain from the mental suffering of pain. They're different. And it's hard. Yeah. Okay. At least I started the topic I wanted.
So staying mentally strong and becoming mentally strong, right? That's the key to handle the worst case situation much better.
It's developing a stable mind.
Stable mind.
With our good qualities. Not with the anger and the greed and the it's not fair attitudes. It's the that confident mind that says I can handle what happens.
So developing a stable mind means absence of anger and negative emotion.
No, well, it means that you can respond to when those minds arise to counter them, so they don't take over. Eventually, they won't arise. Might not be this life, but it's just, eventually you can train yourself to, there just won't be any benefit to you to going that way. Yeah. So, and you'll know that. But that's, but first we need to just even realize I don't have to give my control over to that state of mind. I can choose something different.
I'm just taking notes. I'm not typing anything.
Oh, I'm not, well, I didn't even notice. See, you're not the center of my universe. Okay, yeah, that's right. No, I am the center of my universe and everybody else's. Okay, let's do some prayers and not go that way. So rejoice in any, in the fact that you showed up, that you participated, that you listened, that you, whatever, you didn't, voice your total boredom and hurt my feelings. So, feel good about that. Feel good about anything, everything that we do that's positive, every thought that we have that is positive, every moment of positive action creates the cause for something positive to ripen for us. So it doesn't go to waste. So how cool is that? Okay, so we want to dedicate. So we want those positive things that you call, merit to ripen to benefit others, because we want to practice the mind that's always thinking about the relief of suffering for others. Okay. So it's on page 246 of the whatever those books are called. May all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, the hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments, whatever diseases there are in the world. May they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then the long life prayer for His Holiness on page 244. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Chenrezig, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then the prayer for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. What page is it on in the book? 234? 234. Peerless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands. Please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You hold armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable, venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge. And for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth, the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam and glory for fortunate disciples. So I think there's some announcements.
Yeah, so we have a new course that Venerable Tendrin is doing on Thursday evening. That it starts at 7 o'clock. We have it here and online. It's on Buddhist purification.
That's how you keep those past negative actions from ripening as suffering in the future.
And on Tuesday evenings, we have chair yoga. We have a certified yoga teacher who's leading yoga, chair yoga on Tuesday, and then traditional all level yoga on Wednesday evenings.
Do those begin at 6?
Those begin at 6, yes. Yes.
Thursday, medicine.
Yeah, so medicine Buddha Puja on this, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to treat it in the vein of purification. I mean, it will be medicine Buddha Puja. You don't have to be coming to the purification class. Please join us. It's good for the success of everything. So, but for those of us who've been taking purification, we're going to also apply the 4 opponent powers to make it a purification practice. Okay, so yeah, but it's medicine Buddha Puja. Anything can be a purification practice.
And what about Roy? What about sound bowls? Did you all come up with a date?
She was here, but left. She wasn't feeling well. We're gonna get a date in February.
Okay, stay tuned. If you're not on our mailing list, there's a clipboard here and you'll get the email. We only send out the newsletter once a month, so it's not inundating your inbox. We do have a couple of guest teachers coming in March. We have Paula Chichester for a Saturday all-day workshop, which will be great. And then Venerable Amy will be here in April. And this summer we have a guest teacher, and we'll give you more information as we get closer to that time. But thank you for coming. And please consider becoming a member. You can do it here, or you can go on our website. It's very helpful, and we hope that you are really feeling benefits for joining us. So thank you.
And always donations are welcome. That's how we survive. So anyway, so thank you all at home. Thank you all here. So it's wonderful to chat about the Dharma with you. So drive safely. Have a good Sunday afternoon. It's not overcast, maybe. Bye, Brian. Bye,
Thank you,
Al.
Tandra. It was wonderful. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Nana. Hi, Vanessa, Christina.
Yeah, I'm sure.